My youthful mother thinks she can steal my boyfriend, and it really is the most embarrassing thing I have ever experienced. I was sitting in the corner booth of the nicest sushi spot in the city, trying to enjoy my 25th birthday dinner with my boyfriend Caleb. When I saw her, I actually choked on my edamame. Joanna walked in like she was walking a red carpet. She had her hair blown out in these massive 90s-style waves, and she was wearing sunglasses indoors. But that wasn't what made my stomach drop. It was her outfit. She was wearing my dress. Not just a random dress that looked like mine. It was the emerald green House of CB corset dress I had bought specifically for this night, the one I had torn my closet apart looking for just 2 hours ago. Joanna is 52. I am 25. The dress is a size small. It was fighting for its life. The zipper in the back was clearly stuck halfway up, and she had draped a pashmina shawl over her shoulders to hide the fact that her back was completely exposed. She spotted us and did this little theatrical wave, strutting over to our table. "Happy birthday to my twin," she squealed, ignoring me completely to beam at Caleb. She slid into the booth. Not on the empty bench next to me. She squeezed in right next to Caleb, practically sitting on his lap. "I didn't invite you," I said, my voice shaking. "And you stole my dress." "Oh, lighten up, Celeste," she laughed, waving a hand dismissively. "I borrowed it. It looked a little frumpy on the hanger, so I thought I'd give it some life. Besides, I wanted to surprise you." The waiter came over, looking confused. Joanna flashed him a smile that showed all her teeth. "I'll have a vodka martini, extra dirty," she purred. "And don't card me. I know I look underage, but I'm actually her mother. Can you believe it? Everyone thinks we're sisters." The waiter looked at me, then at the gray roots showing through her blonde blowout, and awkwardly cleared his throat. "Right. Coming right up." For the next 20 minutes, she didn't ask me a single question. She just turned her body fully toward Caleb, blocking me out. She picked up his chopsticks and took a piece of sushi right off his plate. She moaned, closing her eyes. "You have such good taste, Caleb. Celeste usually eats such boring food. I'm glad you have someone adventurous to guide you." Caleb looked terrified. He kept scooting toward the wall, but she kept scooting with him. Then she decided to take a selfie. "Come here, birthday squad," she yelled, leaning her chest into Caleb's arm. She lifted the phone high, arching her back. And that is when it happened. Ripe! The sound was loud. It was unmistakable. The side seam of my $300 dress finally gave up the ghost. The entire restaurant went silent. Joanna didn't even blink. She just laughed, a high, manic sound. "Oops, cheap fabric, Celeste. You really need to invest in quality." I wanted to die, but I didn't know yet that the dress was just the beginning. She wasn't just there to ruin my dinner. She was auditioning for my life. To understand why the restaurant incident was just the tip of the iceberg, you have to understand Caleb. Caleb is 26, works in IT, goes to the gym 4 times a week, and is pathologically polite. He is the kind of guy who helps old ladies cross the street and holds the elevator door for everyone. He is a golden retriever in human form. And my mother, Joanna, is the vacuum cleaner that scares the dog. After the birthday dinner disaster, I expected her to back off. I thought ruining my dress and humiliating me in public would be enough dopamine for 1 week. But I was wrong. The dinner wasn't an attack. It was reconnaissance. She had seen Caleb up close. She had seen that he was patient and kind, and she decided he was her new project. 3 days later, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Joanna. "Emergency. Come over. Bring the boy." I panicked. Was she hurt? Did she fall? I called her, but she sent me to voicemail. I grabbed Caleb and we drove to her house, my heart pounding the whole way. We burst through the front door, expecting to see her on the floor. Instead, we found her sitting on her white leather couch, surrounded by ring lights. She was wearing a neon pink tracksuit that looked like it belonged in a music video from 2003. On the coffee table in front of her was a brand new, unopened PlayStation 5. "Oh, good, you're here," she said, not looking up from her phone. She was scrolling aggressively. "I need the boy to set this up." "You said it was an emergency," I yelled, dropping my keys. "It is," she said, finally looking at us. Her makeup was intense, heavy contour, false lashes that were peeling slightly at the corners, and lips overlined to oblivion. "I'm rebranding, Celeste. I'm going to be a gaming influencer. It's where the money is. No cap." I froze. Did my 52-year-old mother just say no cap? Caleb blinked. You want to stream games?" "Yes, Caleb, keep up," she said, standing up and smoothing down her tracksuit. It was unzipped dangerously low. "I have natural charisma. I have the looks. I just need someone with technical prowess to handle the joystick situation." She winked at him. A slow, terrifying wink. Caleb looked at me, pleading for help with his eyes. I sighed. "Just set it up so we can leave." For the next hour, I sat in the armchair and watched a train wreck in slow motion. Caleb sat on the floor, trying to hook up the HDMI cables. Joanna didn't sit on the couch. No, she sat on the floor right next to him. And I mean right next to him. "So, Caleb," she purred, leaning over his shoulder so her chest was practically resting on his back. Explain this to me. What is this wire for? Is it the power? You have so much power, don't you? It's the HDMI, Joanna, Caleb said, his voice cracking slightly. It carries the video signal. Fascinating, she whispered. She reached out and touched his bicep. You have such strong arms. You must work out. Celeste never works out. She gets her lazy genes from her father. I, on the other hand, am very flexible. I do Pilates. Have you ever seen a woman my age do the splits? Mom, I shouted. Stop harassing him. I'm just making conversation, Celeste. God, you're such a buzzkill. You have zero riz. My jaw dropped. Riz? Where was she learning this? She turned back to Caleb, ignoring me. So, what games should we play? I like the ones with the guns. I bet you're good at shooting things. You have that hunter energy. Primal. Caleb plugged the console in and scrambled backward, creating some distance. I think Call of Duty might be too hard for a beginner. Maybe start with Astro's Playroom. Boring, she scoffed. She picked up the controller, holding it upside down. Teach me. Put your hands on mine. Guide me. She held her hands out, waiting for him to wrap his hands around hers from behind, like that pottery scene in Ghost, but with a DualSense controller. I can just tell you the buttons, Caleb said, standing up quickly. X is to jump. Joanna pouted. She actually stuck her lower lip out. You're no fun. I thought Gen Z guys were supposed to be adventurous. You're giving NPC energy right now, Caleb. I stood up. We're leaving. It's set up. You're a gamer now. Congratulations. Wait, she yelled, scrambling up. We have to order food. I'm starving. I worked up such an appetite watching you work, Caleb. It was stimulating. She picked up her phone. I'm ordering pizza. Caleb, what do you like? I bet you're a meat lover. Are you a meat lover, Caleb? Do you like big spicy sausage? I felt my soul leave my body. It ascended through the ceiling and floated away into the atmosphere. Pepperoni is fine, Caleb squeaked. She tapped on her phone, smiling a devilish little smile. I'm going to get the extra large. I think you can handle it. You look like you have a big appetite. Celeste eats like a bird. It's annoying. But a growing boy like you need sustenance. She walked over to him and plucked a piece of lint off his t-shirt. Her nail grazed his chest. You know, she lowered her voice, but I could hear every word. If Celeste ever gets too tired to cook for you, you can always come here. I make a mean lasagna. My sauce is legendary. It's sweet and spicy. Just like me, she bit her lip. That's it, I said, grabbing Caleb's arm. We are going. Enjoy your pizza. Enjoy your game. Goodbye. We walked out to the car. Caleb didn't say a word until we were 3 blocks away. She called me a meat lover, he whispered, staring straight ahead. She asked if I liked sausage. I know, I said, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. I'm so sorry. She said I have hunter energy, he continued, looking traumatized. And then she tried to dab. She literally tried to dab when the pizza confirmation came through. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I thought that was the peak. I thought her trying to seduce my boyfriend over a Domino's order and a PlayStation was the worst it could get. But I was naive. Joanna wasn't just trying to flirt. She was studying him. She was analyzing his interests. And a week later, she decided that if Caleb liked fitness, then she was going to become a fitness model. And the gym, my sanctuary, my one safe space away from her insanity, was about to become a war zone. The gym was my church. It was the only place where my phone was on Do Not Disturb, the music was loud, and the only pain I felt was the good kind in my quads. Caleb and I had a routine. We went on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We put our headphones on, gave each other a fist bump, and went to separate zones. It was bliss. It was sacred. Until the Tuesday of the glute incident. I was on the elliptical, warming up and listening to a podcast when the automatic doors at the front slid open. A scent wafted through the recycled air conditioning. It wasn't sweat or rubber or disinfectant. It was Chanel No. 5 and desperation. I looked up. My feet stopped moving on the pedals. The person behind me on the treadmill almost crashed into me because I braked so hard. Walking past the front desk was Joanna, but it wasn't the Joanna I knew. This was Gym Baddie. Joanna. She was wearing a matching set that was definitely not designed for cardio. It was a white mesh two-piece that looked suspiciously like bridal lingerie dyed in a highlighter factory. The top was basically a balconette bra with a strip of lace, and the leggings were sheer in places that should never be sheer under fluorescent lighting. Her face was beaten for the gods, full foundation, heavy smoky eye, and a bright red lip. At the gym, on a Tuesday at 5 p.m., she spotted me. She didn't wave, she didn't smile, she just smirked, adjusted her high ponytail, which I realized with horror was a 20-inch clip-in extension, and walked straight past the cardio section toward the free weights, toward Caleb. I jumped off the elliptical, nearly tripping over my own feet, and power walked over, trying to intercept the missile before impact. Caleb was on the bench press. He was in the zone, headphones on, eyes focused on the bar, pushing up 200 pounds. He had no idea he was about to be assaulted by a 52-year-old woman in mesh. Joanna walked right up to the bench. She didn't tap him on the shoulder. She stood directly over him, straddling the bench where his head rested. So when he racked the bar and looked up, her chest was the first, second, and third thing he saw. "Hi, spotter," she purred. Caleb jumped. He actually rattled the bar against the metal rack. He pulled his headphones down, blinking rapidly. "Joanna? What are you doing here?" "Getting my pump on," she said, flexing a bicep that had absolutely zero definition. It shook a little. I decided to join. A woman has to keep her temple tight, right? Especially when she has younger admirers. She glanced around the gym as if the sweaty guys deadlifting in the corner were there specifically for her. I walked up, breathless and sweating from anxiety. "Mom, since when do you work out? You told me last week that sweating gives you wrinkles and ruins your blowout." She rolled her eyes at me. That was before I read about the benefits of testosterone, Celeste. Besides, I hired a trainer. She pointed to a poor, 20-something trainer named Tyler, who was standing awkwardly by the dumbbell rack holding a clipboard. He looked terrified. He looked like he wanted to be anywhere else on the planet. "But Tyler is boring," Joanna whispered loudly, leaning in close to Caleb. "He doesn't have your form, Caleb. I was watching you from the door. Your technique is powerful, very primal." She walked around the bench, trailing a hand along the leather. "I need to do some squats, but my knees are so delicate. I need a strong man to watch my form. Make sure I don't go too deep. Or maybe I should go deep? What do you think, Caleb?" "Ass to grass, right?" I gagged, physically gagged. My soul tried to leave my body through my mouth. "Mom, Tyler can watch your form," I snapped. "That's what you pay him for. Leave Caleb alone." Joanna ignored me completely. She walked over to the squat rack right in front of Caleb's bench. She didn't put any weights on the bar. She just grabbed the empty bar. She started doing squats. But they weren't normal squats. They were these slow, exaggerated, hip-thrusting movements that belonged in a spicy music video, not a Planet Fitness. She arched her back so hard I thought she was going to slip a disc. And she was staring dead at Caleb the entire time, locking eyes with him. "Am I doing it right?" she grunted, dipping low. "Can you see my glutes activating? I feel like my glutes are really popping today. Do they look poppin' to you, Caleb?" "No cap?" Caleb looked at the ceiling. He looked at the floor. He looked at his water bottle. He looked at me with eyes that screamed, "Save me." "Your form is fine, Joanna," he muttered, grabbing his towel and wiping his face just to have something to do. She giggled. "Just fine. You know, when I was your age, I was a cheerleader. I was known for my flexibility. Watch this." She dropped the bar. Before anyone could stop her, she got on the floor right next to Caleb's bench. "I'm going to stretch my hip flexors," she announced. She went into a lunge, a very deep lunge, directly in Caleb's line of sight. Then she transitioned into a downward dog, but she kept wiggling her hips side to side. "Oh, that's tight," she moaned, loudly. "Caleb, do you have tight hips?" "I bet you do. From all that sitting at your computer. You should get down here with me. We could stretch together. I could help you open up. I have very soft hands." People were staring. The guy on the leg press stopped his set mid-rep. The manager was looking over from the front desk with a furrowed brow. I grabbed her arm. "Okay, that's enough. You're done. We are leaving." She shook me off. "Don't touch me. I'm in the zone." "Caleb, tell her to stop ruining my flow." We were having a moment. A fitness moment. Caleb stood up. He racked his weights with a clang. "I'm going to the locker room," he said, his voice flat and devoid of emotion. "I'm done for the day." He walked away fast. Joanna watched him go, biting her lip. "He's playing hard to get," she whispered to me, eyes gleaming. "I like that. It means he respects the chase. He knows he has to earn it." I dragged her into the women's locker room. It was empty, thank God. "What is wrong with you?" I hissed, my voice echoing off the tile. "You embarrassed him. You embarrassed me. You were practically assaulting the floor, Mom." She turned to the mirror and started reapplying her red lipstick, smacking her lips. "Oh, grow up, Celeste. You're just jealous because I have better mobility than you. Did you see the way he looked at me? He was looking at the ceiling," I screamed. "He was trying not to look at you." She laughed, a cold, delusional sound that bounced off the lockers. "He was looking at my glutes, honey." I saw his eyes. Men are visual creatures. He saw a woman who takes care of herself, unlike you in those baggy t-shirts. "He's probably bored of you. You're so vanilla. He needs someone with flavor." She checked her teeth in the mirror. "I'm doing this for you, really," she said, turning to face me with a sick smile. "If he can't handle a real woman, he's not good enough for my daughter. But I think he can handle it. I think he's interested. He's just shy because you're hovering. Next time, stay home. Let us work out in peace." I left her there. I walked out to the car where Caleb was waiting. He was sitting in the passenger seat, staring into the middle distance, looking like a war veteran. She asked me if I liked ass to grass, he whispered as I got in. I started the car. We're finding a new gym, I said. But the gym was just public territory. I could cancel a membership. I could drive to the next town. What I couldn't do was cancel her access to my phone or the emergency contact list or the intricate web of lies she was about to spin to get him alone in her house. Because while I was worrying about her stealing my boyfriend, she was already plotting to steal my reality, and she knew exactly which button to press to get him to come running. 3 days after the gym disaster, I was pulling a double shift at the hospital. I work as a pediatric nurse, and it was one of those days. Flu season, understaffed, and chaotic. My phone was in my locker, buried under my scrubs, on silent. Around 7 p.m., while I was trying to convince a screaming toddler to take his medicine, my phone was blowing up. But not with texts from Caleb, with calls from Joanna. Since I didn't answer, she moved to Plan B. Plan B was Caleb. Caleb was at home, innocently playing Elden Ring, when his phone rang. He saw the caller ID, Sylvia. She had forced him to change her contact name from Joanna to Sylvia because Mom sounded too matronly and Joanna sounded too strict. He picked up, assuming it was an emergency about me. "Hello?" he asked. "Caleb?" Joanna gasped into the phone. Her voice was breathy, panicked. "Oh, thank God you answered. Celeste isn't picking up. I don't know who else to call. What's wrong? Is Celeste okay?" No, it's me," she wailed. "I'm having a crisis, a wardrobe crisis. I have a date tonight, a very important date with a wealthy lawyer, and the zipper on my dress is stuck. It's stuck right in the middle of my back. I can't reach it. I'm trapped." Caleb paused. "A zipper? That's the emergency? I can't breathe," she cried, putting on an Oscar-worthy performance. "It's constricting my chest. I'm getting lightheaded. I think I might faint. Please, Caleb, you're only 10 minutes away. Just come zip it down so I can breathe. Or zip it up. I don't care. Just help me." Caleb, bless his sweet, naive golden retriever heart, heard "can't breathe" and "faint" and went into hero mode. He thought an old lady was about to pass out in a corset. "I'm coming," he said. "Hang on." He drove over. He keyed in the code to her front door, which she had given him just in case, a month ago. He walked in, calling her name. "Sylvia? Joanna? Are you okay? I'm upstairs," she called out. Her voice sounded perfectly fine now. "In my bedroom." He walked up the stairs. He hesitated at the bedroom door. It was slightly ajar. "Joanna? Come in," she purred. He pushed the door open. The room was lit by candles. Dozens of them. The overhead light was off. The air smelled heavy with that same Chanel perfume. And standing in the middle of the room, facing away from the door, was Joanna. She was wearing a dress. Technically, it was a black silk slip dress that was cut so low in the back it defied physics, and the zipper wasn't stuck halfway. It was completely undone. The dress was hanging off her shoulders, held up by nothing but friction and hope. And from the back, it was very clear she wasn't wearing a bra. Or underwear. "Thank God," she sighed, turning her head slightly to look at him over her bare shoulder. Her hair was swept to one side, exposing the nape of her neck. "You're my hero." Caleb froze in the doorway. Joanna, you said you couldn't breathe." "I was panicking," she whispered. "Panic attacks tighten the chest. But seeing you, I feel calmer already. Just come here. Zip me up. My hands are shaking too much to do it myself." Caleb took a step back. I think I should wait outside. You can do it. Just take a deep breath." "Don't be silly," she laughed softly. "It's just a zipper. Are you afraid of a little zipper, Caleb? A big, strong man like you? Just come touch it. It's right here." She pointed to the small metal tab resting at the base of her spine. Caleb, trying to be polite and just get it over with so he could leave, took a breath and walked over. He kept his eyes fixed on the ceiling, trying to use his peripheral vision to locate the zipper without looking at everything else. He reached out. His fingers brushed against her skin. It was hot. Clammy. The moment his skin touched hers, she gasped. A loud, theatrical moan that echoed in the quiet room. "Oh, your hands are so cold," she whispered. "It feels electric." She leaned back. She didn't just lean. She threw her weight backward, right into him. "Whoa!" Caleb yelled, instinctively putting his hands out to catch her so she wouldn't fall. His hands landed on her bare waist. Joanna grabbed his wrists. She locked her fingers around his. She pulled his hands tighter against her body and started grinding her hips back into him. She hummed, closing her eyes. "You know exactly where to hold me. You're so firm. Not like those boys Celeste dates. You're a man. You know what a woman needs." Caleb realized in that second that this wasn't a fall. This was a trap. He yanked his hands away like he had touched a hot stove. He scrambled backward, tripping over a rug. "What are you doing?" he shouted. "Get off me!" Joanna turned around. The dress slipped down her front, exposing way too much cleavage. She didn't pull it up. She let it hang there. She looked at him with hungry, dilated eyes. "Don't be shy, Caleb," she cooed, stepping toward him. "Celeste isn't here. She's at work. She doesn't have to know. We have a connection. I felt it at the gym. I felt it at dinner. You want a real woman, someone with experience, someone who can teach you things." She licked her lips, literally licked them. "I can teach you things, Caleb. Things Celeste doesn't even know exist." Caleb turned and ran. He didn't just walk fast. He sprinted. He ran down the stairs, nearly falling. He burst out the front door, got into his car, and peeled out of the driveway. He called me immediately. He was hyperventilating. "Celeste," he gasped. "Your mom. She trapped me. The zipper, the candles. She tried to grind on me. She said you don't have to know." I was in the break room at the hospital. I felt the blood drain from my face. The sheer violation of it hit me like a physical blow. She didn't just flirt. She tried to assault him. She tried to make him cheat. "I'm leaving," I told him. "I'm coming home right now. Don't answer her calls. Lock the door." I left work early, claiming a family emergency, which wasn't a lie. The emergency was that my mother was a predator. I drove straight to her house. I didn't knock. I used the key she had given me years ago. I stormed upstairs. She was sitting on her bed, still in the slip dress, calmly blowing out the candles. She looked up when I burst in. She smiled, a smug, satisfied smile. "Where's Caleb?" she asked innocently. "He left in such a rush. He didn't even finish zipping me up." "You are sick," I screamed. My voice shook the walls. "You tried to seduce him. You lured him here with a lie." She stood up, her face hardening instantly. The cool mom mask slipped, revealing the narcissist underneath. "Don't yell at me in my own house," she snapped. "He came onto me." "What?" I stared at her. "He touched me," she yelled, pointing a manicured finger at her waist. "He put his hands on me. He grabbed my hips. He told me I looked better than you. He said you were boring in bed and he wanted to see what a real woman could do." I had to push him off. I stared at her. For a second, just a split second, the gaslighting worked. The doubt crept in. Did he? Men are trash, right? Maybe. But then I remembered Caleb, the guy who asks permission to hold my hand, the guy who ran out of there hyperventilating. "You are lying," I said, my voice quiet and cold. "Oh, am I?" She laughed. "Check his texts, Celeste. He's been texting me for weeks, begging me for photos. I deleted them to protect you because I'm a good mother. But today he crossed the line. If you stay with him, you're pathetic. He wants me. Everyone wants me." She walked past me to the mirror and fixed her hair. "You should thank me," she said to her reflection. "I tested him for you, and he failed. Now be a good daughter and go break up with him, and maybe bring me some wine on your way back. This ordeal has been exhausting." I looked at her. I looked at the candles. I looked at the unzipped dress. And I realized she wasn't just trying to steal my boyfriend. She was trying to break my mind. She wanted me alone, single, and dependent on her forever. I walked out without another word. I didn't go to break up with Caleb. I went home to hug him, but Joanna wasn't done. She had planted the seed, and now she was going to water it with poison at the one place we couldn't escape her: the annual family lake trip. I drove home in a daze, the steering wheel gripping my sweating palms. The adrenaline was starting to fade, replaced by a cold, creeping nausea. I replayed the scene in her bedroom over and over. The candles, the unzipped dress, the way she had twisted the narrative so effortlessly, turning her predatory ambush into a story of her victimhood. He came onto me. It was the ultimate narcissist's weapon. If I believed her, I lost the love of my life. If I believed him, I had to accept that my own mother was a monster. I pulled into our apartment complex. Caleb's car was there, parked crookedly across two spaces. He never parked crookedly. I ran upstairs. I unlocked the door and found him sitting on the floor of our living room, his back against the sofa, his head in his hands. He was shaking. "Caleb," I whispered, dropping my keys. He looked up. His face was pale, his eyes red-rimmed. He looked like he had seen a ghost. "She called you, didn't she?" he croaked. "She told you I attacked her?" I knelt in front of him and took his hands. They were ice cold. "She told me you grabbed her hips. She told me you said I was boring." He let out a choked sob. "I didn't. Celeste, I swear on my life. I was trying to leave." She threw herself backward. I caught her so she wouldn't crack her head open, and then she locked me in. She started grinding on me. It was... He shuddered. "It was disgusting. I felt violated." "I believe you," I said firmly, squeezing his hands. "I believe you, Caleb." I saw the candles, I saw the dress. It was a setup. He slumped against me, burying his face in my shoulder. Why? He whispered. Why would she do that? She's your mom. Because she can't stand not being the center of attention, I said, stroking his hair. Because she sees me as an extension of herself, but a worse version. If I have something good, like you, she has to prove she can take it. She has to prove she's the alpha female. I stood up, pulling him with me. Show me your phone. What? He asked, confused. She said you've been texting her. She said you begged for photos. I know it's a lie, but I need to see exactly what she's been sending you. He handed me his phone, his hands trembling. I didn't reply to most of them. I just thought she was being weirdly friendly. I didn't want to be rude. I opened their text thread. My stomach turned. It started innocently enough 3 weeks ago. Joanna. Hey, Caleb. Just wanted to make sure you guys got home safe from dinner. Caleb. Yeah, we did. Thanks, Joanna. Then it escalated. Joanna, 11 p.m. Can't sleep. Thinking about how strong you looked moving that couch. Celeste is lucky. Maybe too lucky? LOL. Caleb, no reply. Joanna, 2 days later. Photo of her in a bikini. Oops, wrong person. Meant to send that to my trainer. But what do you think? Too much for a grandma? Caleb. Looks like a nice pool. Joanna, yesterday. I feel so lonely in this big house. Wish I had a man around to help with things. You know, heavy lifting or just holding things. Caleb. Celeste and I can come by on the weekend if you need help. Joanna. I don't want Celeste. Just you. She gets jealous. Let's keep it our little secret. I scrolled to the bottom. The last text was sent 10 minutes after he ran out of her house today. Joanna. I can't believe you did that to me. I'm telling Celeste everything. You're a sick pervert. But if you come back and apologize properly, maybe I can keep quiet. I know you liked it. I felt bile rise in my throat. It was blackmail, sexual coercion. She's a predator, I whispered. I blocked her number on his phone. I deleted the thread so he wouldn't have to look at it, but not before screenshotting every single message and sending them to myself. Evidence. We're done, I said. We are going no contact. Tonight. But life and family is never that simple. 2 hours later, my phone rang. It wasn't Joanna, it was my Aunt Mary Jane. Mary Jane was Joanna's older sister. She was the matriarch of the family, the one with the money, the lake house, and the strict Catholic morals. She was also the only person Joanna actually feared. Celeste, Mary Jane's voice boomed down the line. Why is your mother crying in my living room? My heart stopped. She went to Mary Jane. She went to the top of the food chain. What did she tell you? I asked, my voice tight. She says your boyfriend assaulted her, Mary Jane said, her tone icy. She says he went over to fix a zipper and tried to force himself on her. She is hysterical, Celeste. She's talking about filing a police report. He didn't do it, I yelled. It was a trap. She lured him there, Mary Jane sighed. Listen, Celeste. I know your mother can be dramatic, but this is a serious accusation. She has bruises on her wrist, she says, from where he grabbed her. She grabbed him, I screamed. She wouldn't let him go. Okay, calm down, Mary Jane said. Look. The annual lake trip is this weekend. I was going to cancel it, but I think we need to do the opposite. We need an intervention. An intervention? Yes. You bring the boy. Joanna will be here. We are going to sit down as a family, look each other in the eye, and get to the truth. If he did it, he's gone. If she's lying, well, we deal with her. But I need to see them in the same room. I need to see their reactions. It's a bad idea, I said. She's dangerous. If you don't come, Mary Jane said, her voice dropping, I have to assume you're hiding him because he's guilty, and I will support her going to the cops. It was a threat, a polite, family-style threat. I looked at Caleb. He was listening on speaker. He looked terrified, but he nodded. We'll be there, I said. We hung up. I can't believe we have to do this, I said, putting my head in my hands. It's okay, Caleb said, his voice finding a shred of strength. I didn't do anything wrong. I'll look her in the eye. I'll tell the truth. We prepared for the lake trip like we were going to war. We packed separate bags. We agreed on a gray rock strategy. Do not engage. Do not react. Be as boring as a rock. If she flirts, ignore it. If she accuses, deny calmly. We arrived at the lake house on Friday evening. It was a sprawling wooden lodge on the edge of a dark, glassy lake. Joanna's car was already there. We walked in. Mary Jane was in the kitchen, chopping vegetables with a cleaver. Joanna was sitting at the island, sipping a glass of wine. She looked up. She wasn't wearing the traumatized victim costume I expected. She was wearing a tight white romper that showed off her legs. "Oh, look," she said, swirling her wine. "The happy couple. Or should I say, the abuser and his enabler." "Joanna, not now," Mary Jane barked, slamming the cleaver down. "Go put some clothes on. You're practically naked." Joanna rolled her eyes but didn't move. She stared at Caleb, a long, predatory stare. "I forgive you, Caleb," she said softly. "I know men have urges. It must be hard being with someone so frigid. I forgive you for losing control. It's a compliment, really." Caleb went rigid next to me. He squeezed my hand so hard it hurt. "I didn't lose control, Joanna," he said, his voice shaking, but clear. "And I don't want your forgiveness. I want you to stay away from me." She laughed, a light, tinkling sound. "We'll see about that. It's a long weekend. The lake air makes people do crazy things." She winked. I felt a cold chill run down my spine. We had walked right into the lion's den, and she was hungry. And then a car pulled up outside, a red convertible. "Oh, good." Joanna clapped her hands. "Julius is here." "Who is Julius?" I asked. "My date." She beamed. Since someone rejected me, I had to find a replacement. "He's a personal trainer. He's 28. She looked at Caleb. "He reminds me of you, actually. But better." The door opened and Julius walked in. He was a mountain of muscle, tanned, wearing a tank top that was struggling to contain him. He looked nice but dim. Joanna jumped off the stool and ran to him, throwing her arms around his neck and kissing him aggressively, right in front of us. She made eye contact with Caleb over Julius's shoulder the entire time. It was going to be a long weekend. The weekend started as a slow-motion car crash and escalated into a high-speed pileup. The dynamic was clear from the first hour. Mary Jane was the referee, trying to maintain some semblance of Christian decency. I was the bodyguard, physically placing myself between my mother and my boyfriend at all times. Caleb was the hostage, trying to blend into the furniture. Julius was the prop, a muscular Ken doll that Joanna dragged around to make Caleb jealous. And Joanna was the chaos agent. She ignored Julius completely, unless she was using him for performance. "Julius, feed me a grape," she'd command, opening her mouth wide while staring dead at Caleb across the dinner table. "Julius, pick me up, my feet hurt," she'd whine, wrapping her legs around his waist in the middle of the living room, checking to see if Caleb was watching. It was pathetic, it was cringeworthy, but it was also relentless. Saturday morning, I woke up with a migraine. The stress was physically manifesting as a throbbing spike behind my left eye. "I need coffee," I groaned. Caleb was already dressed. "I'll go down and make some. You stay here. Lock the door when I leave." "Be careful," I whispered. "Don't be alone with her." "I'll be fast," he promised. He went downstairs. I lay in bed, counting the seconds. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Then I heard a crash. I jumped out of bed, threw on a robe, and ran to the landing. In the kitchen below, a ceramic bowl lay shattered on the floor. Caleb was backed against the refrigerator, holding a bag of coffee beans like a weapon. Joanna was standing in front of him. She was wearing a silk kimono that was definitely not tied securely. She was barefoot. "I just wanted to help you grind the beans," she was saying, her voice low and sultry. "You have such big hands, but sometimes you need a woman's touch to get the grind right." "I don't need help!" Caleb yelled. "Back off!" "Oh, hush!" She giggled, stepping closer, crunching over the broken pottery. "You're so tense. Is it because of Julius? Don't worry about him. He's just a distraction. You know who I really want." I ran down the stairs. "Get away from him!" Joanna spun around. "Oh, look who's awake, the sleeping beauty, or should I say the sleeping boar." "Mom, stop it!" I screamed. "Stop sexually harassing my boyfriend, it's gross. You're his mother's age." "Age is just a number, Celeste," she snapped. "And clearly he's not complaining. Look at him, he's flushed, he's excited." Caleb looked like he was about to vomit. "I'm flushed because I'm terrified, you're insane!" Mary Jane walked in then, holding a Bible and a cup of tea. She looked at the broken bowl. She looked at Joanna's open kimono. She looked at Caleb cowering by the fridge. "Joanna," Mary Jane said, her voice cutting through the tension like a knife. "Cover yourself. You look like a harlot." Joanna huffed, pulling the kimono tight. "I was just making coffee. Why is everyone attacking me?" "Clean up this mess," Mary Jane ordered, "and stay away from the boy. If I see you near him again without a chaperone, you're going home." Joanna glared at her sister, then at me. "Fine, whatever. You're all just jealous of my energy." She stormed out to the patio, lighting a cigarette. We survived breakfast. We survived lunch. But the real test was the afternoon boat trip. Mary Jane insisted we all go out on the pontoon boat. "Fresh air will clear the air," she declared. It was a terrible idea. A boat is a cage on water. There is nowhere to run. We got ready. I put on a modest one-piece swimsuit because I didn't want to give Joanna any ammunition. I packed a bag with sunscreen, towels, and water. When we got down to the dock, Joanna was already there. She was wearing a cover-up. Julius was shirtless, flexing his pecs at a duck. We all boarded. Caleb drove the boat, mostly because it kept him furthest away from everyone else. I sat next to him at the helm. Marianne sat in the back, reading a mystery novel. Joanna and Julius sat in the middle. We motored out to the center of the lake. It was beautiful. The sun was shining. The water was blue. For a moment, I relaxed. Then Joanna stood up. "It's getting hot," she announced. "Time to tan." She dropped her cover-up. I gasped. She wasn't wearing her own swimsuit. She wasn't wearing a grandma suit. She was wearing my bikini, the black thong bikini I had bought for our anniversary trip to Cabo last year, the one I kept hidden in the bottom drawer of my dresser, the one I had packed in my bag, which I had left unattended in the guest room for 10 minutes. It was disturbing. The bikini was a size small. Joanna was not a size small. The strings were digging into her hips so deep they disappeared. The top was struggling to contain her. It looked painful. "What do you think?" she asked, doing a slow spin. "I found it in the guest room. I forgot mine, so I borrowed it. Fits like a glove, right?" "That is my swimsuit," I shrieked. "Take it off. That is unsanitary." "Oh, please," she waved a hand. "We're family. We share germs. Besides, I think I fill it out better than you. You have no hips, Celeste. You look like a boy in this. I make it look womanly." She walked towards the front of the boat, toward Caleb. "Caleb," she called out over the engine noise. "Look, twinsies, except I have the curves." Caleb kept his eyes glued to the horizon. "Please sit down, Joanna. It's unsafe to walk while moving." "I'm very balanced," she said, stumbling slightly as the boat hit a wake. She caught herself on the railing right next to him. She leaned over the console. "I need sunscreen. My back is burning. Can you do it?" Julius is useless. His hands are too rough. I need gentle hands. She shoved a bottle of Coppertone into his face. "No," Caleb said. "Ask your boyfriend." "But I want you to do it," she whined. "Come on, just a little rub. Right here." She pointed to her lower back, right above the thong strap. "No," Caleb yelled. "Fine," she snapped. "If you won't touch me, I'll make you look." She climbed up onto the prow of the boat, the flat area at the very front. She lay down on her stomach, arching her back, legs spread slightly. It was a pose straight out of a softcore magazine from 1985. "Does this view distract you, Captain?" she shouted. It distracted him all right. He was so horrified he looked away and didn't see the log floating in the water. Thump. The boat hit the log hard. The engine sputtered and died. Joanna, who wasn't holding on because she was too busy posing, slid forward. She shrieked as she tumbled off the front of the boat and splashed into the cold lake water. "Man overboard!" Julius yelled, pointing. I ran to the side. Joanna surfaced, sputtering, her fake eyelashes hanging off one eye. The impact of the water had shifted the bikini top. "My top!" she screamed, covering her chest with her arms. "I lost my top! Caleb, don't look, or actually, look!" Caleb had his hands over his eyes. "I'm not looking. Just get back in the boat." Julius jumped in to save her. He hauled her back onto the ladder. She climbed up, dripping wet, holding the tiny triangle of fabric over herself. She stood on the deck, shivering, water running down her fake tan, looking like a drowned rat in a stolen thong. "You did that on purpose," she screamed at Caleb. "You tried to drown me because you couldn't handle the sexual tension." "I hit a log because you were flashing me," Caleb shouted back. Mary Jane looked up from her book. She adjusted her glasses. "Joanna," she said calmly, "go put a towel on. You look ridiculous. And give your daughter her swimsuit back. Burn it, actually. It's ruined." We limped the boat back to the dock in silence. Joanna sat in the back, wrapped in a towel, glaring at us. "You'll pay for this," she muttered as we docked. "Humiliating me in front of my men. You'll pay." I thought the dip in the lake would cool her off. I thought the embarrassment would make her retreat. But narcissists don't feel shame. They feel rage. And that night, she decided to stop playing games and go for the nuclear option. She wasn't just going to steal my boyfriend anymore. She was going to frame him. The dinner that night was quiet. Too quiet. Joanna had retreated to her room to recover from her near-death experience, and Julius was eating 3 steaks in silence. Mary Jane retired early to read her Bible. Caleb and I went to the guest room on the ground floor. It was a nice room with French doors that opened out onto the patio overlooking the lake. We double-locked the bedroom door. We checked the window locks. We put a chair under the handle. We felt safe. We were naive. We went to bed around 10 p.m., exhausted. I fell asleep almost instantly, the stress of the day finally knocking me out. Caleb, I later learned, stayed awake for a while, reading on his phone, listening to the house settle. Around 2 a.m., I woke up. It wasn't a noise that woke me. It was a draft, a cold breeze blowing across my face. I opened my eyes. The room was dark, lit only by the moonlight coming through the French doors. The French doors that were now wide open. I sat up, heart hammering. I locked those, I thought. I checked them twice. Then, I saw the shadow. Standing at the foot of our bed, silhouetted against the moonlight, was a figure. It was wearing a long white nightgown. Its hair was loose and wild. It looked like a ghost. "Mom," I whispered, my voice trembling. The figure moved. It didn't answer me. It moved to the side of the bed, Caleb's side. I watched, frozen in horror, as Joanna, because of course it was Joanna, slowly lifted the covers on Caleb's side. She wasn't trying to wake him up. She was trying to climb in. She lifted her leg, sliding it onto the mattress. She was moving with terrifying slowness, like a predator stalking prey. "Shh," she whispered into the darkness. "It's okay. She's asleep. You don't have to pretend anymore." My blood ran cold. She wasn't sleepwalking. She was acting out a fantasy. She thought if she just got in bed with him, he would, what, accept it? Cheat on me while I slept next to them? Caleb shifted. He felt the weight on the mattress. He mumbled, "Celeste?" "It's me," Joanna whispered, reaching out a hand to stroke his chest. "It's Sylvia. I'm here. I'm cold. Warm me up." Caleb's eyes flew open. He saw the face hovering over him. Not mine, but my mother's. He screamed. It was a guttural primal sound of pure terror. He scrambled backward, kicking out with his legs. He kicked Joanna square in the chest. "Get off me!" he yelled. "Get out! Get out!" Joanna stumbled back, hitting the dresser. A lamp crashed to the floor. I fumbled for the switch on the bedside table and clicked it on. The room flooded with light. Joanna stood there in a sheer white nightgown that left nothing to the imagination. She was clutching her chest where Caleb had kicked her. Her eyes were wild. "You hurt me," she shrieked. "You kicked me, you abuser. You broke into our room," I screamed, jumping out of bed. "You were crawling into bed with him. I heard a noise," she lied, her face twisting. "I thought there was an intruder. I came to check on you. I was scared." "You said warm me up," Caleb yelled, pulling the duvet up to his chin like a shield. "You said, she's asleep. You don't have to pretend. I heard you." "Liar," she hissed. "You invited me. You left the doors open for me. You wanted this." The bedroom door burst open. We had removed the chair earlier to use the bathroom and forgot to put it back. Fatal error. Mary Jane stood there in her flannel pajamas, holding a heavy flashlight like a club. Julius was behind her, looking confused and shirtless. "What in God's name is happening?" Mary Jane bellowed. "He attacked me," Joanna wailed, throwing herself onto the floor. "He lured me in here. He told me to come to the patio door. He tried to have his way with me while Celeste was sleeping." I stared at her. The sheer audacity of the lie was breathtaking. "That is insane," I said, my voice surprisingly calm. "He was asleep. I was asleep. You opened the doors from the outside. You picked the lock, didn't you?" "I don't know how to pick locks," she sobbed. "I'm just a helpless mother. He's a predator. Look at him. He's guilty." Caleb was shaking. He looked at Mary Jane. "I didn't touching her. I swear. She tried to get in bed with us." Mary Jane looked at Joanna on the floor, weeping dry tears. She looked at Caleb, terrified in the bed. She looked at the open French doors. "Joanna," Mary Jane said slowly, "why do you have a bobby pin in your hand?" We all looked. Clutched in Joanna's right hand was a long metal bobby pin, the kind you use to pick a simple latch lock. Joanna looked at her hand. She gasped and dropped the pin. I found it on the floor." "You picked the lock," Mary Jane said, her voice disgusted. "You broke into their room to assault your daughter's boyfriend." "No," Joanna screamed. "You're all against me. You're jealous. He wants me. Tell them, Caleb. Tell them how you look at me." "I look at you with horror," Caleb shouted. "I think you are repulsive. You are the creepiest person I have ever met." The room went silent. Joanna stopped crying instantly. Her face went blank. The mask didn't just slip, it shattered. She stood up slowly. She smoothed her nightgown. She looked at Caleb with eyes that were black holes. "Repulsive?" she whispered. "Yes," Caleb said. "Repulsive." She smiled. A cold, terrifying smile. "Fine," she said. "If I can't have you, nobody can." She lunged, not at Caleb, at me. She grabbed a heavy glass vase from the dresser and swung it at my head. "Celeste!" Caleb screamed. He tackled me off the bed just as the vase smashed into the headboard where my skull had been a second ago. Shards of glass exploded everywhere. Joanna stood there, panting, holding the jagged neck of the vase like a shank. "You ungrateful little brat," she hissed. "You stole my youth. You stole my spotlight. Now you steal him. I gave you life. I can take it back." Julius, finally waking up to the situation, grabbed Joanna from behind in a full Nelson hold. "Whoa, lady, chill," he yelled, "let me go." She shrieked, thrashing. I'll kill her. I'll kill them both. Mary Jane was already on her phone. Yes, 911. I need police at the Lakeview Lodge immediately. I have a domestic disturbance. My sister is trying to kill her daughter. Yes, she has a weapon. Joanna went limp in Julius's arms. She started laughing. Call the cops, she cackled. They won't believe you. I'm a frail old woman. I'll tell them he beat me. Look at my wrist. I have a bruise. She started slamming her own wrist against the doorframe, trying to create marks. Thud, thud, thud. Stop it, I yelled. Witness marks, she screamed, bashing her arm. Self-defense, he's going to jail, and when he's in jail, I'll visit him. I'll be the only one who visits him, and then he'll be mine. I looked at Caleb. He was pale as a sheet. She's crazy, he whispered. She's actually crazy. We have to record this, I realized. We need proof before the cops get here. I grabbed my phone from the nightstand. I hit record. Mom, I said, holding the phone up, did you just try to hit me with a vase? She looked right at the camera. She smiled. She fixed her hair. I was killing a spider, honey, she said sweetly. A big, ugly spider that was crawling on your pillow. I saved your life. You should say thank you. Then she looked at Caleb. And you, she whispered. I'll see you in my dreams. Or in the shower. I have a key to your apartment, you know. I made a copy months ago. Caleb looked at me. She has a key? We changed the locks, I lied, hoping she didn't know we hadn't. Did you? She laughed. Or did you just think you did? I'm your mother, Celeste. I know everything. I see everything. Sirens wailed in the distance. Joanna sighed. Showtime. She slumped to the floor, closed her eyes, and started to whimper. Help, please. He's hurting me. It was a perfect performance. If we hadn't just seen the demon, we would have believed the victim. But Mary Jane had seen it. Julius had seen it. And my phone was still recording. The police arrived 5 minutes later. They walked into a room full of glass, a sobbing woman on the floor, and 4 witnesses who all pointed at her. But Joanna wasn't done. She had one last card to play. The mental health card. And she played it masterfully. The police officers, a seasoned sergeant named Miller and a younger rookie, walked into the bedroom cautiously. The scene was chaotic. Glass everywhere. Mary Jane holding a flashlight like a weapon, Julius shirtless and sweating, Caleb and I huddled on the bed, and Joanna crumpled on the floor in her sheer nightgown, weeping softly. Police, Miller announced. Everyone hands where I can see them. Joanna looked up. Her mascara was running perfectly down her cheeks. She held out a trembling hand toward Miller. Officer, she gasped. Thank God. Please, save me from him. She pointed a shaking finger at Caleb. He lured me in here, she sobbed. He's been obsessed with me. He told me if I didn't come, he'd hurt my daughter. I tried to protect her, and then he threw me against the dresser. He kicked me. Miller looked at Caleb. Caleb was sitting on the edge of the bed in his boxers, looking traumatized. Is this true, son? Miller asked. No, Caleb shouted. She broke in. She picked the lock. She tried to get in bed with us. He's lying, Joanna wailed. Why would a mother do that? It's sick. He's projecting his perversions onto me. Miller looked conflicted. It was a classic, he said, she said. And visually, Joanna looked like the victim, a frail older woman against a young fit man. Ma'am, Miller said to Mary Jane, you called it in. What happened? Mary Jane stepped forward. She was the matriarch for a reason. She didn't flinch. My sister is lying, she said clearly. She broke into their room. I found her with a lockpick. She attacked her daughter with that vase. She pointed to the shattered glass. She threatened to kill them. She's covering for them, Joanna shrieked. They're all in on it. They want my money. They want to institutionalize me, Miller sighed. Okay, everyone calm down. Ma'am, do you have any proof of these threats? I remembered my phone. I recorded it, I said, my voice shaky. I started recording right after she threw the vase. She admitted she has a key to our apartment. She threatened to stalk him. I handed the phone to Miller. He played the video. On the small screen, Joanna's face appeared, smiling that chilling, calm smile. I was killing a spider, honey. And you? I'll see you in my dreams. Or in the shower. I have a key to your apartment. Miller watched it twice. His expression hardened. He looked down at Joanna. Ma'am, that doesn't sound like a victim to me. That sounds like a threat. Joanna's face changed instantly. The sobbing stopped. Her eyes narrowed. She realized the victim act wasn't working. So she switched to the mental health card. She suddenly grabbed her head and started rocking back and forth. The voices, she screamed. The voices made me do it. They told me he was the devil. I had to save her. I didn't mean it. I'm not well. I need a doctor. She looked at Miller with wide, manic eyes. You can't arrest me. I'm having a psychotic break. Take me to the hospital. It was brilliant, in a twisted way. If she went to the hospital, she avoided jail. She avoided charges. She became a patient to be pitied, not a criminal to be punished. Miller looked at his partner. Call EMS. We've got a 5150 hold possible psychiatric episode. No, I yelled. She's faking it. She's a narcissist, not psychotic. She knows exactly what she's doing. Ma'am, we have to follow protocol, Miller said firmly. If she claims mental instability, we have to evaluate her. The paramedics arrived. They strapped Joanna to a gurney. As they wheeled her out, she looked at me. She wasn't rocking anymore. She was perfectly still. She mouthed one word: win. She thought she had won. She thought a 72-hour hold would be a slap on the wrist, and she'd be back to tormenting us by Tuesday. But she underestimated Mary Jane. As the ambulance drove away, Mary Jane turned to me. Pack your things. We're leaving, and we're going to my lawyer's office first thing in the morning. Why? I asked. Because, Mary Jane said, her eyes cold. If she wants to play the mental incompetence card, we're going to let her. We're going to use it against her. The next week was a blur of legal meetings and restraining orders. Joanna was held for 72 hours, then released because she was charming and lucid with the doctors. She convinced them it was a family dispute blown out of proportion. She went home. She started texting me again as if nothing happened. Hope you're happy. You embarrassed me, but I forgive you. When are you bringing Caleb over for dinner? I made lasagna. She was delusional. She thought it was over. But on Friday, she got a knock on her door. It wasn't Caleb. It wasn't me. It was a process server. He handed her a thick envelope. It wasn't just a restraining order, though we got one of those too, for 5 years. It was a lawsuit. Mary Jane was suing her for the destruction of property at the lake house. But more importantly, I was suing her for emotional distress and harassment, and Caleb was suing her for sexual harassment and assault. But the real kicker, Mary Jane had petitioned the court for a conservatorship hearing. Using the police report where she claimed voices made me do it, and the video evidence of her erratic behavior, Mary Jane argued that Joanna was a danger to herself and others and could not manage her own affairs. If granted, Mary Jane would control Joanna's money, her house, her life. The hearing was set for a month later. Joanna was furious. She raged. She posted on Facebook about how her ungrateful daughter was trying to steal her estate. But she made one fatal mistake. She broke the restraining order. 3 days before the hearing, Caleb and I were at our new apartment. We had moved immediately. I was in the kitchen when I heard a scratching sound at the front door. I looked through the peephole. It was Joanna. She was wearing a wig, a dark brunette wig, and sunglasses. She was trying to pick the lock. My heart stopped. She had found us. Caleb, I whispered, she's here. Caleb grabbed a baseball bat. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911. She's breaking in, I whispered to the dispatcher. I have a restraining order. She's at my door right now. We waited. The scratching got louder. Then the lock clicked. The door handle turned. The door opened. Joanna stepped in. She took off her sunglasses. She smiled when she saw the empty living room. We were hiding in the bedroom. Honey, I'm home, she called out cheerfully. I brought wine. Let's bury the hatchet. She took 2 steps inside. Police! Freeze! 3 officers burst out of the stairwell behind her. We had told them exactly when she might come. She had texted Caleb a cryptic, "See you Tuesday," from a burner number. It was a sting. Joanna screamed. She dropped the wine bottle. It shattered on the floor, red wine looking like blood on the hardwood. They tackled her. They cuffed her. "You can't do this!" she shrieked as they dragged her out. "I'm his mother-in-law. I have rights. I just wanted to bond." "You have the right to remain silent," the officer said, pushing her into the cruiser. I watched from the window. I watched as the car drove away. This time, there would be no 72-hour hold. Breaking a restraining order with a forced entry, that was a felony. Burglary, stalking. She wasn't going to a hospital. She was going to jail. And the best part? The wig fell off in the struggle. It was lying on the sidewalk like a dead animal. I went downstairs and picked it up. It was a cheap, synthetic thing. I walked to the dumpster and threw it in. "Goodbye, Mom," I said. I went back upstairs. Caleb was sweeping up the broken wine bottle. He looked up at me and smiled. A real, genuine smile. The fear was gone. "Is she gone?" he asked. "Yeah," I said, hugging him. "She's gone." But Joanna had one last surprise for us. Even from a jail cell, she managed to send one final message. A letter. It arrived 2 weeks later. The handwriting was jagged and frantic. "To my ungrateful daughter, you think you won. But you didn't. I planted something in your apartment before you moved. Something you'll never find. And every time you look at him, you'll wonder, did I touch him? Did he like it? You'll never know the truth. Love, Mom." I read the letter. I felt a cold prickle of fear. Planted something? I looked around our new safe apartment. Was there a camera? A bug? Then Caleb laughed. He took the letter from my hand. She's lying, Celeste, he said. She never got inside before today. We moved here secretly. She didn't know the address until she followed me from work. She couldn't have planted anything. He was right. It was just one last gaslight, one last attempt to live in my head rent-free. I took the letter. I walked to the kitchen sink. I lit a match and set the corner on fire. We watched it burn until it was just ash. Then I washed the ash down the drain. So, Caleb said, wrapping his arms around me, what do you want for dinner? Something spicy, I said, smiling. But no sausage. He laughed. I laughed. And for the first time in my life, the house was quiet. No drama, no competition, just us. Well, us and the expensive security system we installed the next day, because you can never be too careful with a narcissist. But for now, the monster was in a cage, and we were finally, truly free. The sentencing hearing was the final performance of Joanna's career. And honestly, she bombed. We sat in the back row, me, Caleb, and Mary Jane. Joanna sat at the defense table wearing a muted beige cardigan that her lawyer clearly bought for her to make her look like a sweet, confused grandmother. She wasn't wearing makeup. Her hair was pulled back in a severe bun. She looked 70. It was the best disguise she had ever worn. When the judge asked if she had anything to say, I expected an apology. Or maybe a plea for mercy. Instead, Joanna stood up, smoothed her cardigan, and looked directly at the court reporter, a young guy, maybe 25. Your Honor, she said, her voice trembling with practiced fragility. I was just lonely. A mother's love can be overwhelming. And she pointed a shaking finger at Caleb. He led me on. He made an old woman feel special. Is it a crime to want to feel beautiful again? She dabbed her dry eyes with a tissue. She actually batted her eyelashes at the judge. The judge, a stern woman who looked like she took zero nonsense, peered over her glasses. Ms. Miller, the judge said, her voice flat. You broke into a home. You violated a restraining order. You have a history of harassment. This isn't about love. It's about control. The gavel came down. 2 years probation, mandatory psychiatric counseling, 5 years of a strict protective order, and the cherry on top. The judge granted Mary Jane's petition for temporary conservatorship over Joanna's finances until her mental health evaluation was complete. Joanna gasped. Losing her freedom was one thing. Losing her credit cards? That was death. You can't, she shrieked, the sweet grandma act vanishing instantly. She'll steal my money. She's jealous of me. You're all ugly and jealous. As the bailiffs escorted her out, she didn't look at me. She looked at Caleb. You'll miss me, she screamed. I was the best you ever had. Caleb just held my hand tighter. He didn't flinch. The real closure, though, didn't happen in the courtroom. It happened 2 days later, at her house. Since Mary Jane was now technically in charge of Joanna's estate, she asked us to help her secure the property and find some documents. I didn't want to go back there, but I needed to reclaim the last pieces of myself she had stolen. The house smelled like stale perfume and dust. It was like walking into a mausoleum dedicated to her ego. There were mirrors everywhere. Portraits of herself from 20 years ago lined the hallway. You guys check the master bedroom. Mary Jane called from the kitchen. I'm going to purge the liquor cabinet. Caleb and I walked up the stairs. It was hard. The memory of him running down these stairs, escaping her zipper trap, was still fresh. You okay? I asked him. Yeah, he said, taking a deep breath. It's just a house. She's not here. We walked into her bedroom. It was a mess. Clothes were piled everywhere, most of them mine, stolen over the years. I started sorting through the closet. I found my emerald green birthday dress. The one she ripped. It was balled up in the corner, stained with wine. I threw it in the trash bag. Then Caleb called out from the walk-in closet. Celeste, his voice was tight. You need to see this. I walked in. He was standing in front of a shelf that was hidden behind a row of winter coats. On the shelf was a shoebox. I found this tucked in the back, he said. He opened the lid. Inside wasn't jewelry. It wasn't money. It was a shrine. There were photos of Caleb, but not photos she had asked for. These were photos she had taken secretly. There was a blurry shot of him at the gym, taken from behind a rack of weights. There was a photo of him walking to his car in the grocery store parking lot. There was a photo of us at the lake house, but she had physically cut me out of the picture with scissors, leaving just Caleb's arm around empty air. And under the photos, there were objects, a used protein bar wrapper, Caleb's favorite brand, a receipt from a hardware store that must have fallen out of his pocket, and a pair of gray gym shorts. Caleb turned pale. I lost those, he whispered. I thought I left them in the locker room 3 months ago. She She stole my dirty laundry. I felt sick. This wasn't just a pick me mom. This wasn't just a midlife crisis. This was obsession. She had been stalking him for months before she even made her move. At the bottom of the box was a small notebook. I picked it up. It was titled Manifestation Journal. I opened to a random page. The handwriting was loopy and erratic. Day 45. He looked at me today. I know he wants to say something. Celeste is in the way. She is so dull. She drains his energy. I can give him life. I am the goddess. He is the hunter. We are destiny. Day 50. I tried on his shorts today. They smell like him. Musk, power, soon. I slammed the book shut. I felt like I needed to scrub my skin with bleach. She's sick, I whispered. She's actually sick. Caleb took the box from my hands. He walked over to the metal trash can in the corner of the room, the one she used for her makeup wipes. Do you have a lighter? He asked. I didn't smoke, but Joanna did. There was a gold lighter on her vanity. I grabbed it and tossed it to him. He dropped the box into the trash can. He flicked the lighter. Goodbye, Sylvia, he said. He dropped the flame. We watched the photos curl and blacken. We watched the gray shorts catch fire. We watched the manifestation journal turn to ash. The smell was awful, burning paper and synthetic fabric, but to me, it smelled like cleansing. We left the house an hour later. Mary Jane had changed the locks and set the alarm code. She won't be back here for a long time, Mary Jane said, locking the deadbolt. And if she does come back, she'll have no money, no car, and no family. Mary Jane hugged me. It was stiff, but genuine. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner, Celeste. We let her get away with too much because she was just Joanna. We won't make that mistake again. Thanks, Aunt Mary Jane, I said. Caleb and I drove away. We didn't go straight home. We drove to the coast. We sat on the hood of the car and watched the sunset over the ocean. You know, Caleb said, looking at the orange sky. She was right about one thing. What? I asked, bristling. I do like older women, he said, keeping a straight face. I mean, technically you're 3 months older than me, so I guess I have a type. I punched him in the arm. Hard. Too soon? He laughed, rubbing his shoulder. Way too soon. I laughed back. But the laughter felt real. The shadow was gone. 6 months later, Joanna was released to a halfway house. She tried to call me once. My phone automatically blocked it, but I saw the notification in the blocked messages folder. I just wanted to say happy birthday. I miss my twin. I didn't reply. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel sad. I felt nothing. She was just a stranger with a bad wig and a delusional narrative. Caleb proposed to me on Christmas Eve. He didn't do it at a fancy restaurant. He didn't do it with a big audience. He did it in our living room while we were wearing ugly, matching pajamas. That I picked out. I promise, he said, sliding the ring on my finger, to never let anyone unzip my dress but you. You're an idiot, I cried, kissing him. We got married the following spring. It was a small wedding. No cool moms in white dresses, no speeches about the groom's musk, just people who actually loved us. And in the photos, there is no one trying to steal the spotlight. There is just me and Caleb and the start of a boring, beautiful, drama-free life. And honestly, being boring has never felt so good.